Hello, and welcome to another live stream. I'm going to just check myself real quick to make sure that I'm coming through. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Turn this baby all the way up. Sorry if it's in the stream a little bit today. I've got a big book that we're looking at, so I want to make sure everything looks good. Okay, I can hear myself. Here's my sound test. Ready? Back to basics, let's get down to brass tacks and start a rolling the dice. I need some practical facts, no more theory crafting or lofty abstracts. I need a foregone conclusion, a newfound solution. Back to basics. We're back to basics. Back to basics. We're back to basics. The only place on Dungeon Tube where you're going to start off a live stream with a jingle about role-playing games. Welcome. What's going on, folks? Hopefully you're having a great new year. Let's start off by just switching to our map cam real quick, because we're going to look at some stuff today, namely this book here. And my camera moved since I've been gone. Alright, let's see if I can get this. Why must you be like this, camera? I know what happened. It fell, actually. And then it likes to think that yeah, there we go. The thing doesn't have the range once it's moved. Let's make sure that's on tight. All right, I just wanted to show off. So I had this idea, I have this quite literal wealth of TTRPGs at this point, wealth of books, and I thought, I don't have time to read all of them, so why not do it in a live stream? So this is a new series I'm going to try out where I go through some of the role-playing games that I own and share what the physical product looks like with you guys. Hopefully that's something that's interesting to you. And I thought this would just be a chance to have a more casual stream, because whenever I do like my Let's Preps, I'm in like full thinking mode and I can barely ever like look up at chat and stuff. So, all right, let's move some stuff out of the way. I just put these other books here because I just got them for Christmas or around Christmas time, and I thought maybe that's a book I'll do next, or just build some hype for it. Like I got this Crown of Salt book that's for use with any of the Morkborg games, and I thought it looks really cool. I haven't had a chance to dig into it yet, but the style reminds me of like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or something, which are some of my favorite games, so I'd love to break into that. But anyways, I'm going to move these out of the way because today we're focusing on Mythic Bastionlands. Or rather, Mythic Bastionland. I keep adding an S to it, and there's not one. Oh, yeah, and I got this. This is from that Infinite Starships thing. Got that for Christmas, so that was a cool get. Oh, and before I forget, we're going to do I'm giving away something with every live stream that I do, and this time it's just going to be these purple oversized dice. There's nothing crazy special about them. They're just larger than normal dice. Like, here's your standard Chessex set. The D20 is right there, so you can kind of compare. But if you want some purple dice, I thought purple with Mythic Bastionlands here, because there's a little bit of purple going on. Then all you have to do is sign up for the mailing list, and that will enter you to win. And I will try to send these to you. Full disclosure, if you are in the Netherlands, I may wait to send those to you for a few weeks while I recoup my losses from sending draw steel to the Netherlands. That cost me a pretty penny. So, yeah. All right, let's see. What do we got going on? Wow, you actually landed a copy. Lucky. Hey, what's up, Better with Bacon? I did. Flipped through the hard copy of this book at a store recently, and man, was it pretty. Yeah, this is one of the most gorgeous books I think I own. And I've even played the game, but due to the miracle of VTTs, I played it without actually ever opening the book. So this is a genuine first look. Like, I've flipped through it just to look at the pretty pictures and read some of the words, but like, I haven't really dug into it, So this should be fun. Sound and video is working. Hi. Crown of Salt, where's Nick? Yeah, seriously. What's going on, everybody? All right. Oh, yeah, and before I forget, one last sort of announcement. I just landed a new job, which means my schedule with these live streams is going to change. I have been doing them exclusively on Fridays at around lunchtime for me, but from now on they're going to be Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to tune in to either prep or looking through books, Thursdays at 8 p.m. I'll steal the tagline from Critical Role, and we can say, is it Thursday yet? But, all right, let's see if I can actually open this without hitting my mic. I did sort of hit my mic. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, new job is exciting. It's in the medical field, so it's like, it's not about money, which excites me. I like jobs where you help people. Oh, all right, let's get into this, though. First off, my cat is digging through the closet. Hey, get out of there. Get out. You can't be in here. It's a live stream. You're not allowed. Yeah, I just thought this was like the coolest way to show all the pieces of art in a book, and like the art of this game is incredible. It has such a distinct style to it. And again, I'm going to keep saying, I'm probably going to say this 20 times in this stream, but it just, to me, it makes me think of like, Elden Ring. It's just got that like Arthurian legend kind of feel to it. And let's bring my light a little closer. Yeah, it's so cool. I'm just digging it. If you see me look down here, I'm reading chat. It's fun watching the development of this game and getting the art drops in the Bastionlands Discord. Sorensen is a new inspiration of mine. I guess that's the artist. Let's see. Yeah, Alex Sorensen. So there we go. Chris McDowell, obviously, Into the Odd. But now it's before Into the Odd. All right, so I'm just going to kind of go through. We're going to have some fun with this. I'm going to read some stuff out loud, and I'm going to flip around a little bit because, I won't dig too heavily into any one section, I say now, before the video starts. I probably will, but okay. On cold Miston hills, beast, witsome and fell, in holdings and havens the vassals dwell. Seers know the all, the start and the end, myths hushed aloud, to which truth must abend. Aside, vagabonds on, I don't know that word, snareling trails? Snakeling trails. I don't know. I can't tell the font. Knights render these stories wrenched from their veils. For the oath, for the glory, through sorrow and ache, the city that quest to which no knight can make. That is an epic intro. Then we have our contents. Getting started, rules, equipment, running the game, Sparks tables, knights and myths, and odd apocrypha, I'm guessing, like Into the Odd apocrypha. So, all right, let's do it. If anyone has anything to say to me directly, just put Jorben in all caps so that I see it, and I'll try to pay attention. But I'll be bouncing back and forth between readings, so my attention may be split. Nice, I've been waiting to hear about this puppy. So, all right. Oh, I wish I'm going to move my little face. I don't think anyone cares about seeing me read. So I'm going to make that smaller. Beginnings and glory. Getting started. One player is the referee. They should read through to the end of the rules section, page 21. So now we know there are only really 21 pages of rules. The rest is probably a reference to things like classes. The other players can go straight to the knighthood page opposite and need not read any further unless curious. Start and scope. Every group that sits down to play the game is different, and you should consider the start and scope of a game before you begin. It's good advice. The start is the opening situation in which the players find themselves. The scope is how long you expect the game to run for, both in and out of game. Good distinction. Start. Wanderer. Young knight-errants with D6 guard and D12 plus D6 in each virtue. So those are our stats. They arrive in the realm seeking glory. If they lack direction, have them seek a seer's counsel. Courtier. Mature knight gallants. Oh, so these are like our, I think these are our tiers of play, which is an interesting way to do it. You're either a wanderer, you've been around the court a little bit, or you're actually a ruler. That's interesting. Okay. So courtier, mature knight gallants with 2d6 guard and 12d6 plus 6, not d6. Yeah, okay, good distinction. In each virtue. They have a place in court at the seat of power. The first omen of the nearest myth is delivered as news to the court. That's fun. So that's like a quick way to jump in if you're like, we want some mid-level play. We don't want a lot of preamble. We're not going to seek the seer's counsel first. We're just going to jump into the action right away with a myth, which is basically like, if I'm understanding, this game's version of like quests. Okay, and then we have rulers. Mature knight tenants with D6 plus 6 guard and D12 plus 6, again, not 6, or not D6, in each virtue. One knight rules a holding, the others are in their circle. The seat of power is under wicked influence. And then we have our scopes, Adventure, Chronicle, and Saga. One session, so one shot. Here it can save time to generate a few knights ahead of the game and let players choose one each. We have a Chronicle, a known number of sessions, season and age. Turns are planned out ahead of time. For 6 sessions, this might be a season turn at the end of each session, and an age turn at the end of each winter. Okay, so Chronicle is like, you're really telling a broader story. Unlike most role-playing games, it seems like this aims to tell the full scope of a story, which again, under scopes. But yeah, that's an interesting difference than a lot of role-playing games. You play like sort of hour to hour, day to day in most TTRPGs, but already this is quite a departure if you are going for this kind of Chronicle scope. And then we have our Saga. An indeterminate number of sessions. Here you can let the players guide the scope, and as they explore the world, which is kind of our typical D&D sagas. So that's cool. I would be curious to try a Chronicle and see how that feels. It's kind of like compacting an entire adventure into just a couple of sessions. I'm going to turn on some music. Let's see if this is too loud. Let me know. That way it's not just me breathing heavy. Can you guys hear that? Actually, I might have I might have turned it off, so maybe you don't. Okay. Anyway, glory. All knights seek glory, that they might one day be deemed worthy of the city quest. So, a lot of role-playing games, not all role-playing games, have something that you're after. Whether it's you are treasure hunters, you get XP from treasure. It seems like glory is our thing in Mythic Bastionlands, which totally tracks with the sort of knighthood themes and myths and things like that. So there's your incentive for your characters, why they go on quests. They are seeking glory. Glory through myths, glory by other means. All right, so glory through myths. When the group feels that a myth has been resolved, reaching a conclusion of any type, all knights who played a part in that myth gain 1 glory. Or I guess this is like our XP, actually. Maybe I'm wrong. Glory by other means. In a public duel or joust, knights may stake glory against a willing opponent. The victor gains 1 glory, the loser loses 1 glory. Tournaments may also grant 1 glory to the winning knight, provided there are significant spectators and spectacle. If a battle is large enough to be remembered in history, all knights on the victorious side gain 1 glory. When the game moves to a new age, all knights gain 1 glory through serving the realm and maneuvering in court. Oh, yeah, okay, because, yeah, here's our 0 glory knight errant, worthy of leading a warband. 3 glory knight gallant, which, mature knight gallants here, we're in the courtier kind of style of play. Worthy of a seat in a council or court. 6 glory is a knight tenant, 9 glory is a knight dominant, and 12 glory is a knight radiant. That's cool. So yeah, I guess similar to XP in other games is how glory seems to be working here. Then we have worthiness. Rank alone does not immediately grant the knight a council position or rule of a holding. It merely provides their worthiness. A knight may find themselves in a position for which their rank is unworthy. They are sure to face initial opposition, but if this can be overcome, then their worthiness is proven. All right, so yeah, lots of, this is, again, very Arthurian legend, very, classic sort of knights that we think of them in storybooks. And the themes throughout, I have to comment while I'm talking about this. I love the sort of bordering and stuff. Really just a gorgeous book through and through. And, layout so far is pretty clean, a decent amount of decent-sized text with spacing in between that doesn't make my eyes glaze over when I look at it. All right, let's keep going, because I think there was... No, actually, this is knighthood, so let's see. Knighthood. You are knights, united by a common oath and visions of the city. You may have dreams of glory, but every knight must accept the risk of death. The seers who knighted you have deemed that you travel as a company. Sounds like another game I'm working on called Seven Delving Sins, where the company is a big part of it. While some of you may rest, roam, or die, your collective journey will be as one. Knights have 3 virtues. Roll a value for each in order. The start that you choose for your company determines the dice you roll. If unsure, roll d12 plus d6. Okay, so yeah, these are our 3 stats, very similar to other Into the Odd games, Mouse Ritter, all that. It's pretty cut and dry here. Vigor, clarity, and spirit. They've just found adjectives for some of them. But let's read them anyway. Strong limbs, firm hands, powerful lungs. Clarity is keen instinct, lucid mind, and shrewd eyes. Yes, shrewd eyes is important as a knight. Spirit, charming tongue, iron will, and fierce heart. That's cool. I do like when a game takes the old traditional stats and really flavors them to create a united theme throughout the book. And this one is definitely very clear. The clarity is very high. We've rolled a good clarity on this book. I think chat has pretty much died out, or either my stream is frozen. But yeah, if you guys have any comments, questions, again, Jorben in all caps, and I'll try to look at it. Okay, roll for guard. Your skill at avoiding wounds. The start that you choose for your company determines the dice you roll. If unsure, roll a d6. All right, where are our... Let's see. Our company. Let's look ahead for just a second, because I want to see how the company determines that, basically. Arms and goods. People of the realms. Creating a realm. Sites. Wow. Okay. I'm excited to dig more into this. I'm not seeing anything so far. Maybe it's in the character creation section. But we'll come back to that, because I'm not sure how guard works other than what it has told us here. 2d6 guard. But I'm assuming this is like your... In games like Mouse Ritter and Cairn, you have guard that basically works like HP in other games before it starts hitting your stats, if I remember right. It's been a while since I played this, so, and we only had like one real combat. But yeah, avoiding wounds, the start that you choose for your company determines. If unsure, roll a d6, roll or choose a knight. That's page 26. And this will give you properties, items brought with you, your abilities, special talents unique to you, and your passions. Which I thought the passions were a particularly interesting one for this kind of knight-centric game. A special means you have to restore your spirit. Every knight has a dagger, torches, rope, dry rations, and camping gear. Every knight knows the 3 feats on page 10. Every knight has sworn the oath. Seek the myths, honor the seers, protect the realm. That's like very similar to how I start things off in Shadowdark. I have, you are part of the Lamplighters. And it literally says like, seek the old way or the old paths, be a light in the darkness, and yeah, push back the darkness or something like that. Unite them. Oh no, my light's gonna die out. I was trying to put it somewhere where I could see this a little better, but alright. Squires. Small companies, 2 knights or fewer, may give each knight a squire. They serve as apprentices and are not yet knights, so cannot gain glory or perform feats. Okay, so these are your henchmen, your sidekicks in other games. 2d6 for each virtue. 1 guard. They ride a pony. Okay, cool. We get the pony stats, and they carry a dagger. Roll d6 for their extra equipment, which we have here. When knighted, they gain d6 in each virtue. Then we have a great piece of art there. And, alright, so let's dig into the basic rules. Alright, guard gets talked about more on the next page or two. Awesome. Why is some of the... I'm going to refresh my page here, because I'm seeing more chat than I'm getting over here. Okay. I sometimes find that my squires and ponies are stronger than my knights. That's unfortunate. Yeah, you never want to feel weaker than your sidekick to your main character. But, alright, so basic rules. We have saves, which is a big part of the end of the odd style of play. To pass a save, roll a d20 equal or below the relevant virtue, which I'm a big fan of. I really like set DCs. I like when there's less adjudicating on the part of the game master. You know, it just takes some of the burden off of the game master. So I'm a big fan of this style of play. Failure means negative consequences, not always a failed action. That's a good distinction. Virtues. Virtues can be reduced and raised in a number of ways, but can never go higher than 19 or lower than 0. Okay? Yep, that's basically our stats here. And yeah, just basically that, like, there's always going to be a chance of failure and success. Turns. A turn is enough time to move and then perform an action, always in that order. Okay. So I guess, interesting. That means you kind of have to commit when you're fighting. Like, you can't make an attack and then run away. So that is, even though that's something very small, it's got a lot of implication. Surprise. Players normally take the first turn of combat discussing their plan and acting in any order they wish. Characters who were not readied for combat must pass I'm guessing that's class save, or miss the first turn. Okay. Hey, what's up, little Chris? Good morning or afternoon. Alright, reactions. Non-player characters react in a way that feels appropriate for the current context. When uncertain, a character makes okay. Spirit. So this was not class, it's clarity. Okay, yeah. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, the first 3 letters are boldened for vigor, clarity, and spirit. I'm just a doof, and I didn't notice till now. Okay, so yeah, that's, where were we? So this is a clarity save for initiatives, basically. Or they missed their first turn, which could be huge. And then for, what was it, reaction? Now I'm lost. Oh, make a spirit save to avoid an unfavorable reaction. Then we have exposed. Characters who are caught with their guard down or otherwise defenseless are exposed and act as if they have 0 guard. Ouch. If they remedy their situation, then they are no longer exposed. Traps and ambushes typically catch victims exposed. So this is like our surprised condition in games like D&D. But you lose your guard, and that is rough, because you're already like, into the odd games, you're typically fairly squishy. Clarity for save for clarity. Okay, yeah. One and only BDG you can totally use into the odd Electric Bastionlands and Mythic Bastionlands to wargame. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, most RPGs, I feel like there's a way to make them wargames if that's your style. Here, sorry, I'm going to move my light just a little bit. I feel like this is annoying me. The camera is casting light on the page, but oh well. I digress. I'm not using that expression right. Exposed. That was what we just read. Feats. These special actions known by knights can be performed as described on page 10. Using feats risks the knight becoming fatigued, which prevents them from using further feats until they rest. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I do remember this from play. You kind of had to choose what you wanted to use ability-wise. Otherwise, you could end up not being able to use those abilities later. Feats and gambits are my favorite mechanic out of the whole book. Great little additions that aren't overwhelming. And then we have death. Even the boldest knight can die a sudden or ignoble death. Prepare yourself for this. When a knight dies, the player creates a new knight, and they are added to the company as quickly as possible. Alternatively, they may assume control of a squire or follower. All right. And then we have, all right, let's get into our attacks, because I think for most folks who haven't played Into the Odd, this is going to be something that they're pretty curious about, coming from games like D20 games like D&D and stuff. Attacks. Take the attack dice noted on your weapon, shield, and granted by bonuses. Go through the following steps in order. Now, this sounds overwhelming when I'm first going to read it, but I felt like it really wasn't in practice. But let's go through and see. All combatants attacking the same target roll their dice at the same time. 2. If the target or their nearby allies can deny, they must use it. And deny is one of our abilities. 3. Attackers may perform gambits. 4. Take the highest die remaining, so even after all this happens, highest die left. Add any extra damage from attackers who are bolstering the attack, and then subtract the target's total armor score. The attack causes that much damage, which sounds like a lot, but it's almost like, judging AC or absorb in other games and things like that, except you're kind of pulling it all together. You look at, basically who of all of your characters dealt the most damage, if they get bolstered or denied, and then you subtract that target's total armor. So, wordier than in practice it actually ends up being. So, just want to throw that out there as someone who's actually played it. There was a moment where we all kind of looked at each other and we were like, what? But then, once we had gone through a few rounds of it, it's actually surprisingly fast and easy to adjudicate. So, don't be too intimidated by it, is what I'm saying. The game you played, we used the Quinn's Quest method, where each knight's player also piloted another player's squire. Yeah, that was fun, because there were only, I think, 3 of us playing, so we each had a squire, which was nice. It made us feel less like we were just going to die in the first battle, kind of a thing. But that's a good alternative method if you're playing with a smaller group. And by the way, if you haven't seen the Quinn's Quest review, I don't know why you're here. That's like, he does the best reviews of role playing games, hands down. It's go follow Quinn's Quest. Yeah, that's why I'm doing a first look rather than a dedicated review, because I watched this video and I was like, I don't think I need to do a review anymore. That's funny. I see a message that's not on my. The part I think is the most fun is that even if your knight isn't the one that got the highest die, you're still very likely to contribute a gambit. So it feels like everyone is working together. Players piloting squires sounds like Wrath, but less jerkwaddy. I don't know what pilot is. Or Wrath rather. Sorry. Yeah, I agree, Sabbath RPG. I found in practice, it didn't feel like I wasn't contributing, especially because I did a lot of things like bolstering, which full disclosure, I am the kind of player who likes to play support anyway, so it wouldn't have bothered me the way it may bother some players who just like to see their number hit and deal damage. But I never got that impression. I never walked away feeling like I wasn't important to the battle or anything like that. So, okay. So here's our example. So a knight with a mace, d8, and shield, d4, is aided by an ally with 2 daggers, d6 each. They roll d8 and d4 and 2d6 respectively. The dice show 7, 3, 1, and 5. The highest die is 7. The 5 is spent on a gambit to bolster the damage to 8. The target has armor 2. So yeah, the bolster adds to the damage, the highest one, 7 here. The target's armor is 2, helm and shield, reducing the damage to 6. So everyone still contributes. Some damage is done. The enemy's armor matters. It's got like some soak is what I usually refer to that as, because, Genesis RPG. And yeah, it simulates battle essentially through a single group roll that happens. It makes fights happen really fast and streamlined. It is. I walked away with this having never quite played an RPG like this. Most RPGs, everyone's going in order. We're all doing our attack rolls. We're all doing our own things. But here it was more this cohesive. Yeah, the whole company was working together to battle this creature, and it felt different in a very what's the word I'm looking for? Unified way, teamwork kind of way. Lots of games don't really, to me, have a feel of teamwork. It's like, hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my signature move, my wombo combo thing that I do, that I built my whole character around. I don't care what you were doing over here. In fact, what you're doing doesn't even come into the equation. So this just felt really unique in that sense. Now, some people will bounce off from that, and some people really like it, and that's totally fine. Every game has a niche, right? Okay, then we have our things that matter to the attack, like whether we're impaired, whether it's a blast, and then, of course, just how damage works. So let's read these. Impaired. Attacks roll d4 only and cannot gain bonus dice or benefit from feats. All right, so that's kind of your bane, essentially, in other games. Blast. Attacks target everybody in the area, rolling each separately. Okay. Area effect damage, and then the actual damage. The attack's damage is deducted from the target's guard. Yeah, this, if you've played mostly like D&D, you're probably going to think of guard similar to HP, but it is a little different. So if they have at least one guard remaining, then they evade the attack. If it leaves them with exactly 0 guard, then they gain a scar. Page 9. If it exceeds the target's guard, the excess is deducted from vigor and they are wounded. Yeah, and that's what's kind of different about these games. It's like you're damaging. I guess a better way to put it than HP is to say that guard is like your overshield in like Halo, right? Like it blocks your health which in this case is your stats from taking damage. So, yeah, it's Mouse Ritter, Cairn, all those games, they have similar things, but it is interesting because I feel like it at both makes you feel a little tankier and weaker at the same time, because you really don't want to be eating away at your stats, but it means you're not dying and going down immediately, even when your guard runs out, if that makes sense. Okay. If they lose half or more of the remaining vigor, it is a mortal wound. Oh, you know what? I may actually be mixing this up with another game, now that I'm thinking about it. But let's keep reading, because I'm thinking of two different things. Mortally wounded targets are down and dying. They die if left unattended for an hour, but can be patched up in a few moments. If damage reduces the target's vigor to 0, they are slain. So yeah, I think I'm actually mixing up Knave 2E with like Into the Odd, Mouse Ritter, all that. Because here you just take a mortal wound, and you have, I'm assuming, a certain number of wounds you can take. Or if you just hit 0, you're just dead. Alright, so virtue loss. Virtues may be reduced by means other than damage, typically referred to as virtue loss. In addition to the situations listed in the rules, characters may suffer virtue loss as the cost or consequence of an action. This is detailed in the action procedure, page 16. Victims are only slain or mortally wounded if the virtue was reduced by damage, never as a result of virtue loss. At Vigor 0, you are exhausted and cannot attack if you have moved this turn. At Clarity 0, you are exposed and treated as having 0 guard. At, is it Spirit? Make sure I get this right. Yeah. At Spirit 0, your attacks are impaired, rolling a single d4 only. So these are sort of 3 conditions that happen as a result of taking damage. And then we have Recovery. Guard is fully restored with just a moment of peace after the danger has passed. Fatigue is also removed this way. Virtues can be fully restored by 3 means: consuming a specific type of remedy, performing a specific action, skipping to a new season. Vigor is restored by consuming sustenance or spending a full day in warm hospitality. Clarity is restored by consuming stimulant or receiving guidance from a seer. Spirit is restored by consuming sacrament or indulging a passion. I love that. It's just so immediately like evocative, you know? Like you can think of the role play situations where you might restore your spirit with a sacrament versus just, you know, chilling at an inn for a day with some hospitality. Those are fun ways to kind of break down the 3 stats. Yeah, and I guess I should add here, guard is really a different mindset that you kind of have to put yourself in than HP, because it can just go away and by several means. You know, you can get oh, now I'm lost. Basically, you can take the exhausted, was it? And you basically are exposed and you have 0 guard. So it's like suddenly you're at 0 health, you know? It's almost like there's not really a good analogous term to tie it completely to regular role-playing games, because it acts in some very different ways than HP does. So forget everything I said about HP, basically. All right, let's look at remedies. A single remedy is a sizable bundle of materials and tools. A person or dedicated beast of burden can only carry one at once. Okay, interesting. Using a remedy requires a whole phase of the day and is more about the ceremonial act than the material components themselves. The virtue is restored before resolving any omens or other encounters. A single remedy is enough to benefit all company present. So yeah, this is like it seems like, just very, and I don't mean this negatively, but like gamist ways to understand, because it seems that we're going to get more info here, but that the gameplay breaks down in sort of very specific turn orders, so that remedies happen on their phase, virtues get restored before new omens arrive, and things like that. Um, that way, you're healing essentially before something else goes down, if I'm understanding right. All right, let me look back at chat for a second. Yeah, we had a good group of players who weren't jerks. I think this is still talking about the Wraith game, which I'm not familiar with. Old World of Darkness game, one of Vampire Sisters games. In it, you play tethered ghost who has a shadow trying to drag them down to despair and self-destruction. Okay. I've never played any of the World of Darkness games. In fact, I've never even cracked open a World of Darkness book. I know literally nothing about World of Darkness. But I know it had a big following, especially Vampire the Masquerade had a resurgence. Everyone plays their own ghost, plus someone else's shadow. Genesis, confirmed next game. In some situations, due to vigor loss, the environment can sometimes feel more dangerous than monsters. That's cool. Yeah, that would be... I'd be very interested to run like a whole arc, or play in a whole arc of Mythic Bastionlands, because I got a very narrow sliver of what the experience is like, and just hearing that makes me think that's really interesting, that even that the environment could be more of a threat than necessarily like a monster could. But yeah, all right, let's keep reading here. We got remedies. Now let's take a step over here to the scars. Take the die that caused the scar and roll it again, consulting the table below for the specific scar caused. Virtue lost through scars is not damage, so cannot mortally wound or slay the victim. Scars are only gained through real deadly combat, not training or bloodless duels. So yeah, okay. Then we have our scar table, goes 1 through 12. Lucky escape, lose a d6 spirit. We have disfigurement, smash, stun, rupture, gouge, concussion, tear, agony, mutilation, doom, and humiliation. It's funny to me that humiliation is the highest. Even higher than doom. You really don't want to be humiliated as a knight. The most dolorous stroke. When you achieve revenge, if your max guard is 12 or less, increase it by d6. Interesting. All right. Well, let's see what we have here. Specifics of combat. So let's look at feats. After using a feat, the user must pass a save or become fatigued, unable to perform feats until they rest. Each feat can only be used once per attack by each combatant involved. So these are kind of like your... If I remember right, they're sort of like your generic moves that anyone can do. I hesitate to call them specials. I guess that's why they're called feats. But pretty much everyone had like some combination of these, whether it was like a bolster and stuff. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be misremembering. It's been a while. But yeah, let's see. Smite. Release your Righteous Fury. Use before rolling a melee attack. The attack gains either plus d12 or blast. Pass a vigor save or become fatigued. Yeah, they're all pretty much going to say that, because that's how feats work. Whatever it is, might be your clarity, might be your spirit. So focus. Create an opening to exploit. Use after rolling an attack. Perform a gambit without using a die. Pass clarity, save, or become fatigued. Or deny. Rebuff an attack before it lands. This is your defensive move. Use after an attack roll against you or an ally within arm's reach. So you can use it on your friends. Discard one attack die from the roll. Pass a spirit save or become fatigued. Then we have our gambits, which are more like attackers may discard any number of attack dice of 4 or higher So you have to at least roll to 4 to get a gambit. Each causing one of the effects below. The affected foe must be a target of the original attack. For gambits other than bolster and move, the target receives a vigor save to ignore the effect. Okay, so even when you do these are probably the ones I'm thinking of, are the gambits, because these were sort of your generic moves, but your foe gets a chance to basically save and ignore it. Bolster the attack for +1 total damage, like we saw in the example. Move after the attack, even if you already moved or are unable to move. Okay, so you can still move after an attack. I was wrong about that. You just have to use a gambit in order to do it. That's the difference. Repel a foe away from you, so like a push. Stop a foe from moving next turn. Impair a weapon on their next turn. Trap a shield until your next turn, which I'm assuming lowers their guard. Dismount a foe. Other effect of a similar level of impact. And that just covers all your bases. If you want to do something more narrative, I assume. There's an important thing about scars that can be missed. It's the primary way of increasing your max guard. Oh. Yeah, I did miss that. Is that shared there, or is it somewhere else? It might be in the scars list here, maybe. Okay. I'll try to stay a little focused here, because I'm ADD and I tend to move around. All right, if a die of 8 or higher is used in melee, then a strong gambit is performed and the attacker chooses one of the following. No save is granted to the target. Okay, so if you roll basically a crit, in this case, I'm going to call it a crit because you roll high, no save, or greater effects such as disarming an item, breaking a wooden shield or weapon, or removing a helm. This does not increase the damage from bolster. All right. I feel like they should have just named that something. I guess Strong Gambit is the name. So if you get a Strong Gambit, you get one of these. Minor actions. Changing weapons, dismounting, and similar actions do not count as a combatant's action for the turn. We just hand wave them in this game. We don't go, it takes your action to move over there and open the door or something, Bonus attack dice. These are gained from useful information, shrewd preparations, or a tactical advantage. Plus D8 is a typical bonus. Okay, so bonuses to attack die. I'm going to reread that. Useful information, shrewd preparations, tactical advantage. So this game in combat cares about 3 things as bonuses. Either you have some information on this enemy, you shrewdly prepared, or some other tactical advantage. That's your best way to roll high with an extra D8, seems. Outside of, I'm assuming, some special abilities. All right, unarmed combat, unarmed attacks are impaired unless the attacker has suitable natural weapons. So you're going to be rolling a D4. Let's see. Ranged combat. Purely ranged weapons cannot be used if the attacker began their turn engaged in melee. Interesting. So lots of games let you, shoot into a fight with disadvantage or with a chance to hit your allies. This game just says it's not going to happen. Protective cover grants an additional point of armor against ranged attacks. All right, so we got cover. We've covered cover for the game. Mounted combat. Mounted combatants use their steeds' trample damage in addition to their own weapon when charging enemies on foot. This doesn't work against spear walls. Steeds can be targeted separately by attacks. Okay, if you want to attack someone else's horse, you can. You get your horse's damage on top of your own weapon damage to enemies on foot. Being dismounted causes D6 damage. If this occurs in combat, add it to the existing dice. Oof. So you definitely want to be careful about how you approach mounted. I feel like a bonus D6 to damage you're already taking is pretty rough. All right, duels and jousts. Two combatants. I'm going to actually kind of skip duels and jousts, and shield walls and spears, only because I do want to cover some more things in this book, and we're already approaching like 50 minutes. But I do want to check out wavering morale. Individuals who are wounded or groups who lose half their numbers must pass a spirit save to avoid rout or surrender. This is very old school. Lots of old school games have morale checks. Organized groups roll once using their leader's spirit. Disorganized groups roll for each individual against their own spirit. This does not affect player characters. So yeah, very, very par for the course kind of old school stuff here. We have warfare with things like war bands leading from the front. This may be what you were talking about, Phil, where you can really take this game and play it as a war game. Seems like they actually have codified rules for that. But I'm going to kind of skip it for now. There's recruitment, which sounds cool. Arms and goods. I do want to read about armor, because I feel like that's another vital part to role-playing games, especially ones that are combat heavy. But I'm going to skip trade. Wielding weapons. If no type is noted, assume the weapon uses one hand and has no other restrictions. Then we have things like hefty weapons, long weapons, and slow weapons. Slow weapons cannot be used if the attacker has moved on this turn. They are also long. Impaired in confined environments. Only one hefty item can be wielded at once. Okay, I guess that's like two-handed, basically. Common weapons. We have uncommon weapons, rare weapons, and we have like what they deal, I'm assuming. 2d6, and the way this game works. Actually, I would like to know. Let's see if it tells us. Is it added together, or you just take the better? I'm going to assume added together. Lance, D10 long, count as hefty. Brutal weapons, 2d10 slow. This is cool. These are really simple templates. I like them a lot, actually. Specialist weapon. Take an existing common or uncommon weapon with D8 or D10 in a specific situation. Oh, plus D8 or plus D10, sorry. Make it one category rarer. Alright, so let's get to wearing armor. One of each armor type, coat, plates, helm, shield, can be worn at once, combining their armor scores together. Plates and helm are generally not worn outside of battle. Plate armor is common armor, shield D4, A1, round kite or heater. I'm going to assume armor 1 is what I was thinking of as soak earlier. But what I was looking for is I actually haven't seen a place that said that unless I just happened to skip over that exact spot. But yeah, I'm looking for it. I'm not seeing it. Our helm gives us A1. Your coat gives you A1, whether it's mail, gambeson, flexible armor, rare armor, plates. And so it seems you layer armor here, like they're saying. You can do one of each: coat, plate, helmet, shield. So I guess you can have 1 to 4 armor, basically. And I'm assuming, like Mouse Ritter and stuff, that reduces the incoming damage. I haven't seen that stated yet. We have our tools, common beasts, uncommon beasts, rare beasts, and our remedies. Sustenance, the means for a generous feast used to recover vigor. Stimulants, enlightening herbal preparations used to recover clarity. And sacraments, props for a ritual or performance used to recover spirit. We have people and realms. So services, realms, myths, roles, seers, knights, faiths. Okay. Creating a realm, which I might have to do a second first look at this, because I really do want to dig into this. I think this is something that particularly excites me as a game master, the creating of the realms, but I don't think we have enough time today to totally dig into it. So we'll come back to creating realms and sites, and I'll do this one later on. But I want to look at... I'll take a second to look at refereeing, because I really like Chris McDowell's approach to refereeing. And then we'll skip and look at some of the classes and stuff, and we'll come back another time to finish a more detailed look at these things. Creating realms is so quick and a breeze. I'd love to use sites and fractals as well. There's an important thing about... Oh, I already read that. Okay. So, refereeing. Primacy of action. Even when using the rules for travel, exploration, and combat, remember this. The most important thing. Past action taken by the players supersedes. Past action taken by the players supersedes content generated by prompts or rules. Their deeds are reality. Okay, so this is like an overt statement for the way that you should run this game, saying the player's agency with the things they come up with or the things that happen supersede anything that you've rolled or created. Basically, it gives them the agency to say, like, no, my knight came from this land, that sort of thing, and, like, really have an impact on their own story. Primacy of action. If I'm understanding that right, it is a bit weird how that's written. Past action taken by the players supersedes content generated by prompts or rules. Their deeds are reality. Remember the core of giving players information, honoring their choices, and describing the impact of their actions. Giving information. And this is very similar to Into the Odd, actually. The players can only make interesting choices when they are presented with difficult situations and given all of the information needed to engage with them. Great stuff. Giving information it really reframed the way that I game master. I really try to keep that at the forefront of my mind when I'm running games. And that was something I read in Into the Odd, and it really stuck with me. Improvisation. When faced with a question not answered by rules, notes, or procedures, you improvise. Anything too beneficial or too harmful creates a feeling of an arbitrary world. Instead, describe something that does at least one of the following. Evokes the flavor and themes of the area and its inhabitants, indulges their senses, vision, hearing, touch, smell, and taste, or reinforces something that they've already learned about this place. So yeah, just guidelines for improvising. They're really good. I would expect nothing less from Chris McDowell. Prompts. Every Night and Myth spread has prompts across its base. These serve as cues for improvisation as needed. Spark tables on page 22 are also useful for generating ideas. All right. I'm going to finish the rest of this later because I think people are going to want to see at a first look some of the character stuff. And I'll have to do, like I said, I'll do a second look and we'll look at like travel, exploration, some of the things I had to skip, like creating a realm seems really cool, and sites. I already love this thing. This reminds me of playing with a Torn. All right, Dominion, Authority, all things that are going to be important to a knight. We have some tables on nature and civilization. These are our spark tables. People and combat, knights and myths. And then we start with, actually I'm going to back up one page for a second. Okay, roll d6 and d12. Read the d6 first. Pages list the d6 in square, d12 in a pentagon. Each knight can be used for a player character. Each knight can be used for a player character or a non-player knight who are encountered wandering or ruling. Generally, each player should have a different type of knight. Some realms refer to knights by honorific titles and ranks, others their given name and home, while most use their full knightly title or simply knight. Alright, so this is kind of where we can like roll up our knight, and it says this is not an exhaustive list, and even those listed knights may differ as the mantle is passed on. Each page also includes the seer who granted their knighthood, witnessing the pledging of their oath. So this is an integral part to Mythic Bastionlands. This is how we make our knights. This is how we get, like the seer knight relationship seems pretty important here. And then, our myths, which are kind of our big quests that our knights are on. But I just thought I'd take a look at it real quick because it is such an important part. And then we can roll our myths. Same thing, a d6 and a d12. Each myth lists its omens and the cast of beings who are associated with it. Entering or exploring the myth's hex always reveals its next omen. Remembering primacy of action, which we just read, the hex itself is visually tied to the myth. And this is why, I always cite things like Elden Ring, for example. Because Elden Ring is just one of those games that it has a solid evocative style of tying like the boss of the area to the area, right? It does this really good job of marrying the visuals and the themes with what's happening in the quests and all that kind of stuff. This is the game you want if you want to run an Elden Ring campaign, I think. I'm just going to throw that out there. Even having not read the rest of it, it just feels like you're in the right place. When the group feels that a myth is resolved, the knights each gain 1 glory, and the new myth replaces it in the next season. Myths may appear at odds with the realm, such as the sea and a desert. Still, these myths must be brought to pass so realm and myth can shift as needed. All right, so let's look at some knights. And the art is amazing. The True Knight. This is our stock standard guy. A pact to uphold truth and fact. Sorry, I cannot read today. Oh, that was right. On lies the false lay, break and cracked. It's very poetic sort of themes to all of these. So property, you get a mace, mail, plate, and a helm. So this is your most very armored guy. Kite shield marked with a symbol of truth. Petulant steed. Your ability is punitive stroke. Make a melee attack against a known liar. I love how specific these are. So one of the things that really did draw me to this book, and one thing I have, I guess, kind of looked at ahead of time, was just to get a feel for the game. I took a peek at some of the knights and the pages, and I loved how specific each of these knights felt. This one is kind of, like I said, our stock standard guy, but then, you're going to have some weird ones in here. We'll take a look at a few before we close things out here and do the giveaway, but I love the specificity to these characters. Attack against a known liar, get a plus d10 on the attack, ignoring armor. Then you have passion, honesty. Restore spirit when you tell the truth, where a lie might be more beneficial. It's really fun role-playing elements mixed with mechanics. I love to see it. Symbols of the truth. Trigger. Lying to you about their identity. Effect, golden glow. This is cool. I didn't read this part earlier. Or rather when I glanced at the classes. Giving false witness to you, turns cold. Giving you malicious advice, gentle hum. Lying while bearing the shield, fragrant aroma. Omitting key information to you, distant bird call. Lying to you about their intent, loud clang. Alright, you're knighted by the rotted seer. Their withered touch is only contagious if they will it. Seize the way to live on through any amount of physical decay. Wants to become even more rotten, filthy, and diseased. Alright, I see a lot of stuff from Phil. Catching up a little bit. It seems like you guys are kind of just talking about the creating realms. Changeling, yeah, that's right. I was trying to remember what we fought. Okay. Alright, and then we have like person, wandering old coot, name, Sinara, characteristics, thunderous voice, object, gray lantern, beast, smiling fox, state, feasting, theme, sleep. And this is all for your seer, who witnessed your oaths. It's got this very mythic quality. I mean, with the name Mythic Bastionlands, I hope it would. But all right, I'm going to go a little quicker through some of these, but hopefully you can see why this game is so unique and exciting, and it's got a very different feel. The plague, birthed in air, spread by stream, lurking in the blood. The terror of our time will see us all stuck in the mud. These are the omens that go, I assume, along with the true knight. And your I guess with your seer, really. The angry cast, the angry infected, jolly hunter Mackin, purging knights, Dermod and Dunkus. Alright. Then we have our snare knight. I'll move my little face here. Immersed within the woods a-deep, a sheriff rides from nature's keep. Property, hand axe. Let's skip all these. I'm going to go to the ability and the passion. Wild eye. Observe a beast in secret. Learn a useful truth about their habitat. Passion, empathy. Restore spirit when you spare the life of a hostile animal. And then you are knighted by the swollen seer. Alright, and then we have the wall as the omen here. And our cast of characters. The tourney knight. A calling brought a life of combat. Victories amassed, questing for the fame that comes with prowess unsurpassed. You get the champion vow. Use immediately before a combat where there is a prize at stake. Plus D6 to melee attacks for the whole combat. But there has to be a prize at stake. Again, I love the specificity. Passion, hatred. Restore spirit when you refuse a plea for forgiveness. Wow. Okay. That is very different than our last, our main knight there, the true knight. Okay, that's cool. And then you're knighted by the entombed seer, and you have the shadow as your omens. All right. We have the bloody knight. Some were born to fight and fall, forged beneath blades' clash. This one birthed from blood and war, stained with corpses' ash. Your ability is Slaughter Echo. Use immediately after defeating an opponent. Your next melee attack in this combat gains Blast. Passion, Justice. Restore spirit when you restore the balance of justice. Pretty straightforward. You are knighted by the Reed Seer. And the river is your omen. The Moss Knight. No need for lessons, tree or stone. The wisest seek what soil has shown. This game just has, it eeks with just flavor, and I love it. It's, if you can't tell, this and Dolmenwood are my kind of settings, and really they're established much through the characters here, and like your seer and your omen and things like that. It's just, I think that this is such a cool world, and it's so natural the way that you can arrive there through the mechanics. And this is what I say, when some games I don't think mechanically back what they're saying, I think this game really does. It's got the flavor. It has sort of role-playing baked in with the mechanics and with like how your omens work and things like that. It's a really good marriage of a lot of things that I think come together to create a cohesive style of play and feel of game. It's top-notch stuff. Ability, Moss Tongue. Speak with uncut stones and particularly old trees. If you push them for too much knowledge, they rebuke you, shunning you for the rest of the day. Passion, naturality. Restore spirit when you reject an opportunity to sleep indoors, sleeping in nature instead. You are knighted by the loathed seer, and the wyvern is your omen. All right. I'm going to go a bit faster for some of these because I still need to do a giveaway. We have the War Knight, you have Battle Awareness and Duty, and you have the Lost Seer and the Goblin. I love that art. That's awesome. Like straight out of a Tolkien book. Look at those hands coming out of the roots. That's really cool. We have the Willow Knight. Abilities are Bend with the Wind and Doubt. And we have the Carved Seer and the Forest. The Gilded Knight. Ability is Martyr in Waiting and Passion Pride. The Enthroned Seer and the Child. And I'm already seeing some of the ways these things are just paired really well together. Your Enthroned Seer and a Child. I'm just going to assume, I'm going to make an assumption here. These are all about, the Promised Child. It's like a new heir coming about, things like that. Story elements that are very naturally associated. The Saddle Knight. Ability is Song of the Steed. Passion. Certainty. Knighted by the Jeweled Seer. And Omen is the Order. The Riddle Knight. Ability Layered Words. Passion. Integrity. Knighted by the Jawbone Seer. And Omen is the Dead. And, this is going to go on and on, so let's read a few. The Talon Knight with the Underworld. The Barbed Knight and the Worm. That's a cool piece of art, too. The Trail Knight and the Pack. The Amber Knight and the Eye? Oh, yeah, I should have looked at the picture. The Eye. The Horde Knight and the Blade. Wow, that is a cool piece of art. I love the art in this book. If it's not obvious, that's cool too. I love the extra arms coming out here. This is a very, very cool picture. The Emerald Knight and the Legion. The Chain Knight and the Imp. It's very like Alice in Wonderland. The Banner Knight and the Troll. This will be a good one for us YouTubers to play as. The Pigeon Knight and the Demon. The Shield Knight and the Sea. Sorry, my fingers are really making that noise on the page. The Whip Knight and the Elf. Again, love how weird each knight is. The Seal Knight, S-E-A-L, Seal of Binding and Modesty, and the Ape. Am I reading that right? The Ape? Or the Ark? I think that's Ark. Some of the font is a little bit difficult to read, but it's not detracting anything yet for me. The Horn Knight and the Dwarf. The Dove Knight and the Tower. Very cool. The Story Knight and the Chariot. The Turtle Knight and the Desert. There's my bookmark in the middle. The Key Knight and the Mountain. Man, I just can't get over the art. The Moat Knight and the Star. The Boulder Knight and the Sun. And we'll just stop there because this goes on and on. Tankard Knight, Owl Knight, Hooded Knight. All of them equally evocative and cool. I really just want to play some more Mythic Bastionlands. Maybe we'll have to get a game going. It sounds like Phil really wants to run a game, so maybe we'll get something going on the Discord. M. Melnick says, I'd give it a go. I was lurking and listening. Yeah, Gallow Knight. I mean, just look at all these. It goes on for days. It would take me a whole stream just to read all the knight names and like what they do and their properties and stuff. And then we finally get to The City Quest, which has been referenced several times already. Again, I'm going to have to do another stream because I could probably spend another 3 hours digging into this book. It's a work of art. From the text, everything from like poetry to just the sort of fairy tale feeling to it, virtues, hospitality, folklore, omens, mapping realm. All right. But before we go, I've been doing a giveaway with every live stream, so we're going to do that really quick. But this has been our first look into Mythic Bastionland before Into the Odd. It's a gorgeous book full of lots of cool ideas and in a style that is very intriguing to me. Real fast, I'm going to pull up our wheel. And then we're going to spin the wheel and see who gets sent these large purple dice. Okay. My internet is failing right now. That's probably why the stream's lagging a little bit, isn't it? I just noticed. Hopefully that's not been the whole time, but... Wheel of Names. Okay, can you see this? Do you guys see a big wheel with a bunch of names? If not, I will hold. I just realized my stream is behind too. The art in this book is so sick. I hope people are able to flip through my book with this level of appreciation for the beauty of the artwork. I think they will. I think, Peter, your game is also very stylized, and it has a consistent theme. This book is blowing me away, though, with the quality. Like you said, Mythic Bastionlands is the gold standard of immersive but clear layouts. Yes. It's hard to do... It's hard to get everything exactly right. As far as, like, conciseness of text, the amount of text that's in there. All right, my stream just caught up, so you can see this. So I'm going to click. But yeah, it really knocks it out of the park all across the board. I mean, just the amount of oh, who do we have? Here we go. Caleb DTS. These are yours. I will email you, and we'll get those to you. But congratulations. Big purple dice, very easy to read. If you know me, I like those things. But yeah, just before I forget, I'm going to try to keep doing giveaways with almost every live stream that I do, which I'm trying to do a live stream every week. They're now going to move to 8 p.m. on Thursday nights. So we'll see how that goes because I got a new job. So, all right, but that's pretty much it. We'll show off the book one more time. But like you're saying, Peter, definitely nails it. Like, just the right amount of words, mechanics, text. It's really stylistically succinct or stylistically consistent, right? I feel like I found an old book about a bunch of knights, and I'm just peering through it and learning about an age I never lived in, a time that I never explored, and just a world that is not my own. It's so interesting. I could just read this book to you guys. Anyways, all right, I'll shut up. This is the end of the stream. Thank you guys for being here. If you like these sort of first looks, I'm going to try to keep doing some stuff like this because, like I said, I have a wealth of role-playing games that are just sitting out there on my shelf. I don't get to look at them enough because I tend to just default to the games that I always play. So if this is the kind of thing that you guys enjoy and are interested in, leave comments, share it, do all that good stuff. But I will try to do more of these. Intermingled with some of my Let's Prep I still want to do those because I think that those are fun and good examples of a way that I do prep. But yeah. Anyways, I'm babbling. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. If I haven't said it yet, Happy New Year. Hopefully, great things are coming in 2026. I should do an update soon about 7 Delving Sins, so look out for that on the mailing list. And you can sign up for the mailing list. Links down below for like Substack is basically my mailing list. So sign up there if you want to hear more about what's going on with that project. And thank you guys for being here. I've got a weird video coming out next week, hopefully Tuesday. And then I'm traveling to Page on Thursday. So I will be very busy. Starting a new job, trying to develop a game, and going to a con that I'm very excited about. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you for being here and participating. As always, learn, adapt, grow, and we'll see you next time. Peace.